The ship disintegrated in space, and it wasn't a system failure, nor a meteorite. I saw the light, an orange light, surrounding us seconds before the disaster. Unnatural, as if the planet itself had trapped us. When I regained consciousness, I was in the main cabin of the Orion, my ship, surrounded by broken cables and sparks flying from shattered panels. Around me, there was only destruction. Medical equipment, useless. Navigation systems, dead. The central computer, emitting intermittent beeps, like in its final agony. Through the cracked window, the planet appeared before me, a vast reddish expanse. Kronos, I would call it later. I activated the auxiliary thrusters, but they barely responded. The descent was a nightmare of creaking metal and deafening alarms. When the ship stopped after the crash, I collapsed over the controls. I was alive, but badly injured. 3 broken ribs, a head injury, and dehydrated. As unconsciousness claimed me, I saw a shadow at the edge of a rocky formation, tall, inhuman, watching me. No, it wasn't a hallucination. I built a makeshift shelter with the remains of the ship, found emergency supplies among the wreckage, activated the distress beacon, though without real hope that anyone would catch it at this distance. The gravity here is strange, slightly lower than Earth's. I feel lighter, but no less lost. During my explorations, I felt it, a presence. I turned and saw her, not 10 meters away, emotionless, like a living statue, at least 2 meters tall, extremely slender, skin of a bluish tone, with luminescent markings that seemed to shift in intensity. Her face, vaguely humanoid, but her eyes, deep violet, hypnotic. From her head, sprouted filaments of light that moved as if they had a life of their own. I didn't run. I couldn't. When our eyes met, I felt a pressure inside my head, as if something was trying to communicate with me. Then, she left, disappeared behind some rocks, so perfectly that I wondered if she had really been there. This morning, I found something next to my shelter. An object. An alien technological component, it seems. Small, shiny. A gift, a tool. Desperation will push me to try using it. Soon. And it worked. Somehow. It worked. I activated it by accident, by pressing a symbol on its surface. It emitted a pulse that partially repaired the shelter's life support systems. The air is now more breathable, filtered, free of Kronos' harmful atmospheric particles. Tonight, I left an emergency ration outside my shelter, an offering, a thank you. By morning, it was gone. In its place, I found something strange. A crystal, violet, that pulses with its own light when I touch it, about the size of my fist, with symbols carved into its surface. Symbols that seem to shift if I look at them too long. I stored it inside my suit, and since then, I feel its warmth against my chest, like a second heart. Today, I decided to explore beyond the impact zone. The terrain of Kronos is disorienting. Rock formations, impossible. Colors that defy all earthly logic. Structures that seem somewhere between natural and artificial. And then, in the center of a perfect canyon, I found them. Ruins, ancient, crumbling columns, buildings, half buried in sand. But what truly paralyzed me was something out of place. A metallic container with the logo of the International Space Agency, sealed with a heavy lock. I stood there, unmoving, staring at it, an Earth-made container, millions of kilometers from home. It couldn't be a coincidence. As I examined the container, I felt it again. That presence, silent, unmistakable. I turned, slowly. There she was, the tall, slender figure, just 3 meters away, watching me. Her luminous filaments moved gently, as if stirred by an invisible breeze. Her markings glowed more intensely, under the golden light of sunset. This time, she didn't flee. She pointed at the container, and then looked directly at the laser from my toolkit. "You want me to open it?" I asked. There were no words, just her gaze, locked on mine, waiting. I took the laser and cut the lock. The lid opened with a hiss, the sound of depressurization, and inside, to my absolute astonishment, there was a woman, a human, an astronaut. She wore a suit similar to mine, but from a different mission. She was unconscious, severely dehydrated, but alive. I carefully pulled her out, my hands trembling. Her suit bore the logo of the Artemis 7 mission, an expedition that, according to reports, had gone missing 8 months ago. The alien creature watched in silence, but this time, there was something in her eyes, something resembling concern, empathy. As I lifted Elena in my arms, the alien took a step forward. She extended a slender hand and touched the woman's forehead with a breathtaking gentleness. I brought Elena to the shelter, administered intravenous fluids, using what little remained in my medical kit. While I worked, the creature stayed there, at the entrance, motionless, watching every move. I wonder, was it she who found Elena, placed her in that container to keep her alive? Why? How did Elena end up on this planet? I have too many questions and no answers. Elena regained consciousness this morning. Her first words were confused, whispered, fragmented. She spoke of a light, of an accident, of months, adrift. Little by little, her story began to take shape. Artemis 7 had been exploring Saturn's rings when an energy anomaly struck them. The ship split in two. Elena's section, with the science modules, was pulled by something she describes as a tunnel in space. They emerged near this unknown planet, but their systems were too damaged to control the descent. There were 5 of us in my section, she told me, her voice trembling. Only I survived the crash. And then she found me. She meant the alien creature, the one Elena calls Naira, because the sound it makes reminds her of the wind between the dunes, of the Chilean desert, where she grew up. Naira saved me, she continued. She placed me in that stasis container, which we had brought for biological samples. She kept me alive for... How long has it been? 8 months, according to your mission, I replied. I saw the shock in her eyes. Since then, Elena has taught me how to use the crystal. She calls it a core, based on her preliminary analysis. It's a biotechnological device. It functions as a neural interface, a kind of bridge, to help us communicate better with Naira. Her language is not made of words. It's a mix of images, sensations, and concepts, a mental dance that little by little, we are beginning to understand. I've learned more about Naira and her species. They are the Astrali, the original inhabitants of Kronos. Generations ago, an invading race, which Elena and I have named the Devourers, began hunting them. They were after their technology, their advanced biotechnology. The Devourers used special toxins to weaken them. They hunted them down, destroyed them, broke them. Naira is one of the last. She has lived, hidden among these ruins, the remnants of what was once a great Astrali center of knowledge. Tonight, while Elena slept, still recovering, Naira came to me. She took the core and placed it between our foreheads. A torrent of images flooded my mind. I saw her world before the invasion, a planet of biomechanical wonders, of light, of harmony. Then, the arrival of the Devourers, the fall of their civilization, her long solitude until she found Elena. Why are you showing me this? I asked, through the core. Her answer was clear. She needs our help. And we need hers. If we ever want to go back. Home. Then she showed me something else. Something astounding. A portal. A stellar jump. Hidden within an ancient temple. Not far from here. A device. Created by the ancient Astrali. To travel between worlds. It could be our way out. But to activate it, we need 3 special crystals. They're hidden within the temple itself. And for Naira to help us, first, we must help her. She needs an element, a healing gem that exists only on another planet. Azura. That gem can neutralize the poison the Devourers injected into her body decades ago. Since then, it has been slowly killing her. A silent pact was formed between us, humans and Astrali, united by survival. It's been 2 days. We're preparing for the journey to the temple. Elena is nearly recovered physically, but the experience has changed her. During her 8 months in stasis, she had strange dreams, visions of distant worlds. She says part of Naira's consciousness leaked into her mind during the long healing process. Naira grows weaker by the hour. The poison of the Devourers, dormant for decades, seems to have reactivated. Elena believes it was the stress, the effort of keeping her alive, that broke the balance Naira had managed to maintain with the toxin. Her luminous markings flicker, each time fainter. The landscape of Kronos is disorienting as we move forward. Vast reddish deserts give way to deep canyons, with rock walls carved as if a laser had drawn their lines. Impossible formations defy gravity, and in the night sky, 2 moons watch us, one blue and the other golden. This morning, the ground trembled beneath our feet. A serpentine creature emerged from the sand, its skin like molten rock. Naira identified it immediately. A worm, a native predator. It forced us to run, fast, toward a crevice in the canyon wall. There, we waited in silence, waited for the beast to move on. In that moment, Elena took Naira's hand, and I saw it. The connection between them, remarkable, profound. At times, they seemed to communicate without the core, as if the months Naira spent keeping her alive had created something more, a telepathic bond. She's going to die if we don't find the gem, Elena whispered to me. She sacrificed too much energy for me. I won't allow it, not after everything Naira has done. She led us to a system of caverns, lit by bioluminescent crystals. On the walls, we discovered hieroglyphs, ancient symbols that Naira touched with reverence. The history of Kronos, Elena translated. The arrival of the Astrali, their advanced civilization, and the invasion of the Devourers that nearly wiped them out. When we emerged from the caverns, a hidden valley stretched out before us. Alien vegetation in impossible colors filled the landscape, and at its center stood a majestic temple. 3 enormous pillars reaching the sky. The portal of the 3 moons, our salvation, or our last hope. The temple is even more impressive inside. A vast circular hall with a platform in the center. 3 beams of light entered through openings in the ceiling. They illuminated 3 empty pedestals. We need 3 stellar crystals, Elena translated, as Naira showed us images through the core. 1 for each pedestal. Together, they will activate the portal. Naira then pointed to 3 doors, 3 paths, 3 trials, 3 crystals. But she could barely remain standing. Her condition is deteriorating rapidly. I need you for the trials, Alex, Elena told me. You're the only one with the physical training to face them. The first chamber was filled with mirrors. In the center, a crystal floated, suspended above a pedestal, but it was surrounded by a maze of laser beams. The trial of reflection, said Elena through the communicator. You must use the mirrors to deflect the beams. and create a path. I spent hours there, adjusting angles, calculating trajectories, recalling my old classes on optical physics. Every step was a risk. And when I finally took the crystal, the chamber began to collapse. I ran. I ran without looking back. And I escaped. Just barely. The second trial was even stranger. A deep pit, and at the bottom, a crystal glowing, like a star trapped in darkness. I descended, and then the walls came to life. Images, visions, my worst fears. Earth, destroyed. My family, forgetting me. A lonely death, in the infinite void of space. Focus, Alex. I heard Elena's voice through the communicator. They're psychic projections. The trial is designed to test your courage. I reached the bottom of the pit and took the crystal. Immediately, water began to flood the chamber. I followed the instructions Naira had translated, held the crystal tightly, closed my eyes, focused only on it. And then, the water receded, as if obeying, creating a path toward the exit. The third chamber seemed empty. The crystal floated at the center, calm, out of reach. When I tried to touch it, I hit an invisible force field. The trial of truth, Elena translated. Only one who speaks with absolute honesty may pass. I breathed deeply. I joined this space mission, not just for scientific exploration, I said aloud. I came because I was running, from my failures, from the people I've disappointed. I thought that among the stars, I could find a purpose I never found, on Earth. The force field flickered, and then vanished. I took the third crystal, in both hands. When I returned to the main hall, Elena had managed to stabilize Naira, but it was clear that without the Lumina gem, she wouldn't survive much longer. I returned to the Kronos temple, exhausted, but victorious. Elena was kneeling beside Naira, her markings barely glowing, like embers on the verge of fading. "I've got it," I shouted, holding up the Lumina gem, pulsing, full of life. Elena gently placed it on Naira's chest. The gem merged with her body, dissolving in a bluish light that coursed through her veins like a river of hope. For a moment, there was no reaction, only silence, and then Naira's markings glowed with renewed intensity. Her filaments rose, as if dancing in the wind, and her violet eyes opened. "We have to go," I warned. "The Devourers, they know about Earth." Naira transmitted images to us, a network of interconnected portals, a star map, and Earth. "She knows how to get back," Elena translated, "but the Devourers will follow us." "Not if we destroy their portal network," I replied. Naira explained how to reconfigure the crystals, to collapse the entire network, but we needed a final destination before everything came crashing down. "Earth," I said without hesitation. While Naira worked, configuring the portal, we understood the cost. Someone had to stay behind to trigger the final sequence. I volunteered, but she shook her head firmly and showed me, mentally, that her world was already lost, but Earth still had hope. The ground trembled. A Devourer ship was entering the atmosphere. "Go!" Elena urged as Naira pushed us toward the portal. We crossed. The threshold surrounded us, and my final vision was her, Naira, standing tall, her filaments dancing like flames, the temple shining with a light too bright to endure. We reappeared in the control center of Armstrong Lunar Base. Chaos, stunned faces. "Impossible," whispered the director of operations. "Both missions were lost. Artemis 7, 8 months ago, and Orion, 3 weeks ago. We need immediate communication with Earth," I demanded. "Humanity is in danger." The space agencies came together. They established an early warning system against the Devourers. Weeks later, as we looked at Earth from the lunar base, Elena confessed to me, "Sometimes I feel she's still here. In my dreams, I see through her eyes." And then, on the lunar surface, an aurora appeared of impossible colors, blues, violets, golds. "It wasn't the end," Elena said, with a spark in her eyes. "It was only the beginning."